Welcome to NAIFA's Advisor Today podcast series, where we focus on how financial advisors work, live, and give to their local communities and our greater financial services industry. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hi, this is Chris Gandy. Welcome to 2023 and Advisors Today podcast with our wonderful host, Suzanne Carawan. Hi, Suzanne.
Hey, Chris.
Where we feature the top leaders in insurance and financial services. Today, we have a wonderful guest, and we're super excited to have the president of the association on today. But Suzanne, tell us a little bit about our sponsor for today's podcast.
Yeah, so today we have a sponsor that is a big fan of Bryon Holz, as a matter of fact, who also thinks Bryon Holz rocks, and that is the Advisor Group. The Advisor Group was also kind enough to sponsor and help support Bryon as he ascended the presidential throne there and took office and took his oath of office, if you will, at our November National Leaders Conference that we had this past in Washington, D.C. this past November. They have a great video that we would like everybody to watch. We'll put it out in the blog as well, but a great group. I think we'll probably hear Bryon talk a little bit about them and the support that they give to Bryon. And so thank you again, the Advisor Group. We love working with you. Back to you, Chris.
All right. So Mr. Bryon Holz, welcome to the wonderful, esteemed, or we're in our second season now, and we made it past year one. You know, we had some hiccups along the way, but we're so proud and happy to have you here and welcome you to the podcast. So welcome, Bryon.
Thank you very much, Chris. Glad to be here and glad to have Suzanne on with us as well. I'm excited about the new year. 2023 is going to rock, and just glad to be a part of it. Thank you.
So Bryon, let's rewind the tape. You know, everybody wants to know, like, where it all began. So if I rewound the tape and said, you know, what gave you the impetus to come into the financial services career or the financial planning career or the insurance career? Like, why are you in this business? Where did it come from?
That's a great question, Chris. And, you know, the expression of even a blind squirrel finds an acorn eventually, it was pretty much by accident. I was a senior in college, University of Tampa, a presidential scholar in the early 80s, a time when it was difficult to find a good career position. It was amidst of a recession, and there weren't many jobs available, career positions available. So a good friend of mine had been in the business for a few years, and I was meeting with him, and he said, asked me what I was going to do. I said, I'm not sure. There aren't too many opportunities available. And he said, well, why don't you come work with me for a while until you get your real job? So it was pretty much by accident. But
a real job. Right.
But what attracted me and what really kept me going year after year, you know, for all these years was the fact that I was independent. I was able to help people, and my compensation was directly related to how many people I was able to help and to what extent. So I really appreciated that and was very fortunate to find this early on. And it's really all I've done since I was a senior in college.
So do you feel like it's a real job now? Is it now a real job? At what point did it become real?
That's a great question, because they say that you're never employed if you love what you do, right? And I do love what I do. So I see it as a vocation. I see it as more than a profession. I see it as a calling. And so I just love it. And I hope it never becomes my real job.
So Bryon, let's talk about the real job. You know, there's a lot of new advisors, new to NAIFA, and they're listening to and inspired by you. If you could do it all over again, is there anything you would do differently in the first 2 to 3 years during your startup phase of your business? What would you do differently if you could? Let me ask that question, and then I have a part B to that question.
Sure, that's a great question. I think that the discipline is so important when you're first starting in the business. I didn't have many obligations, so I wasn't that motivated, perhaps, to do as much as I should have been or could have been. So I think having more focus, having more goals, and having more discipline in what I did I thought that maybe I was unsure at the beginning of whether this was going to be my career or not. So I think I would burn my bridges sooner and become more dedicated to the profession earlier on. And I think it's a lot easier today, especially for NAIFA members, to find mentors and find processes and find ways to do that starting out in the business. So that's what I would do differently. I would go all in quicker.
As Chris Gandy would say, you were in the convenience phase, not fully committed, right? It was convenience.
Right.
So you're saying go all in to start with and keep yourself accountable.
Correct.
Yeah, burn the ships. I get it. So that's what you would have done differently. Mentors. Let's talk about that, Bryon. You're a mentor to many. But who mentored you? Is there one person that stands out when you say, man, without that human being, my path would have been different?
Well, certainly it was my friend who brought me into the business, my former high school biology teacher, Doug Brainerd. He's been my mentor for years and decades and still my dear friend. Without him, obviously, I wouldn't be in the business. But another thing is I've been like a sponge early on. And one of the great things about the firm I started with was the culture where we shared ideas. And it's unfortunately that company and that is gone, but that culture remains in NAIFA. So I was able to just spend lots of time with my colleagues, and everyone had been in the business longer than me at that time. So I considered everyone a mentor. And so that's really what I did is I would seek out at meetings and attend every meeting I could and ask for advice and just listen to those who were doing well and those who had gone before me.
So obviously you've been in it. So how long have you been in the business? I know we never ask someone's age, but are you 20 plus? You're 20 plus years, because I'm 23. So I'm assuming you've been in the business at least 1 hour before me, right? So would you say you're between 25 and 30? You're between 30 and 35, or you're like the Wheelers of the world and you're like, I've been in it since I was 12 years old, that type of thing, 60 years, right? Share with us a little bit about your tenure. How long have you been in the business?
This is my 40th year in the business, Chris.
40th year. So round of applause to you for not only the work you do, but the dedication to help other people achieve, the things they wouldn't achieve without someone like you giving them direction, someone caring as much as you care about them and their families, and making sure that, when everybody else shows up with bills, you show up with checks, right? Because, it's the reward behind, it's the reward behind some of the work that we do. It's not the glamorous part, but it's the most meaningful part, to be there when people need us the most. Milestones. So your proudest moment in the business. Let me ask that. That's always kind of a nostalgic question as you get a chance to kind of, hey, this was a big deal for me. What was one of the, the Holtz milestones that you would say has really been a significant milestone for you, and you really are super proud of it?
Well, Chris, obviously being a part of this podcast today is a big one for me. But in addition to that, serving as your NAIFA president is just huge. There's nothing more significant, I think, than what NAIFA does for our profession. And being the president and being at the helm of that this year is obviously very humbling, and I'm very proud of that, and to follow in the footsteps of so many great leaders that we've had for NAIFA. But on the other hand, some of the other proud moments I have, and I shared some of this at the NLC in November about our first time, my first death claim. I'm very proud of that. It's nothing I really celebrate per se, but that really brought to the forefront of my mind. And they say you're not in the business until you may be in the business, but the business isn't in you until you have your first claim. And so that was something I'm hugely proud of. And every time I have a claim, it's a big deal for me. And I'm very proud and humbled when those occasions occur. Other things, our company had a future leaders program years ago, and I always thought of myself as young in the business. I still think of myself as young in the business. And I think that's good. I think it's important to have a sense of wonder and be open to learning and to be open to change and transition. And so I think anytime there's a program like that, like LILI or something else, I always try and be open to that and be a newbie and experience it in a new way. So every day is a new day for me, and every day there's something to be excited about.
Great. Awesome.
Since you bring that up, Bryon, a lot of our listeners might not know what LILI is. And I know you're such a big proponent. I don't know if you know this. Chris is going to be a LILI enrollee soon, and we'll go through LILI. But
I'm in it now. My first class is
started.
My first, yeah. We actually had our pre, and now I'm in class this
he's
month.
Doing it. It's a real deal.
In a couple of weeks.
So, Bryon, do you want to kind of give us a brief thing of LILI and why people think it's so amazing and what you'd get out of it? Just give a plug. Go ahead. You bet.
LILI stands for Leadership and Life Institute. And NAIFA came out with this over 20 years ago. It's a leadership course over 6 months where you meet once a month for a full day with others around the NAIFA nation and go into ourselves and dig into ourselves and how to become a better leader, a better person, certainly a better producer. But it's just a very holistic program that made a huge difference in my life. Not only when I first participated as a participant, as a student in the course, but later on as a moderator twice, experiencing it through the eyes of others. So if you have an opportunity to participate in this, I highly encourage you to do so. It makes such a difference in so many lives around the country, and it's just an awesome experience. Yes, it'll help you be a better producer, but more importantly, it just will elevate yourself in so many ways that I can't even articulate. It's just outstanding. I'm happy for you, Chris. You're going to love it.
And I think I'm not wrong. I think we're in our 22nd year of LILI, and we've had over 3,000 graduates, and we have a really strong alumni community as well. So, Chris, you'll soon add that to your list of alumni circles to which you belong.
Awesome. So, Suzanne, we have the president here.
Yeah.
I mean, the president always has an address, and Bryon, many people weren't able to be at NLC for multiple reasons, whether travel, sickness, illness, whatever it may be. Would you share with us a little bit of your words or your thoughts around 2023? What's on the agenda? What do you hope to accomplish? And what are you super pumped about in 2023 with the vision of NAIFA?
Absolutely, Chris. First of all, I am NAIFA proud and excited about our continued strong presence in all 50 states and in Washington, D.C. No one does advocacy like NAIFA. And when we were up there for the NLC in November, that was another example. We showed up and Secure Act 2.0 passes shortly after. I mean, our presence is undeniable, and that's one of the things I'm most excited about. I talked about you never forget your first time, like your first day on the Hill, whether it's in your state capital or in Washington, D.C. And I'm excited about more NAIFA members throughout the country having their first time at a day on the Hill, whether in their state or in Washington. So that's one of the things I'm NAIFA proud about. I'm also just NAIFA excited about the thought leadership that we're having through our centers of our thought leadership through the centers of excellence. The centers of excellence have been developing over the last few years, where we're getting the best thought leadership, the best minds in the various areas of our profession, and bringing all these resources for our members throughout the country. So that's something that I'm really pumped up about, and it's going to be wonderful. And there's just more and more available, like this podcast, for our members to sharpen their saws and to sharpen their blades and become better professionals and serve more of the public. The other thing I'm really excited about is that we're NAIFA diverse, that we're doing a better job every year of not only better representing our profession, but the communities that we represent. It's so important that we make sure that we recognize that. And we're doing that through our Future Leaders program. We're doing that through our DEI symposium and in many other ways. I'd like to congratulate you again, Chris, for being our diversity champion for last year. We're doing a lot, but we need to do more. So these are the three areas I'm really pumped up and excited about. NAIFA proud, NAIFA excited, NAIFA diverse.
Awesome. So Bryon, let's talk, I'm going to go in the weeds a little bit, shall we? And let's talk about the old versus the new, right? And one of the things we had an opportunity to, and those of you who didn't get a chance to participate, we got a chance to participate in Apex last year, right? And the way in which you grew up in the business and the way new people are coming into the business is complete opposite, right? And so how do you see the NAIFA embracing the change of the way in which we go about doing business? I mean, we went through COVID, right? And all of a sudden, we were built on the business. We grew up in the business. We're pressed the flesh. Hey, you have to show up, and you have to be there, and you have to look them in the eyes, and you have to shake their hand, and you got to promise them when you leave that I'll be here when you need me. There's certain aspects of that happen, but that was the evolution of the business. So we saw at Apex kind of the future of what the potential business. I'm asking a question specifically around just thought-provoking. What are your thoughts around how NAIFA can separate itself as a differentiator of thought around the way we go about doing business? Because I think there's something there. We have something that most people don't have, and that's experience. And that experience is years and years and years and years and years and years and years, and the collaboration of that in technology. So what are your thoughts around that, Mr. Holz? Because I know you're technology savvy. So, I mean, that's kind of one of those things. You're not a throwback where, you're still using the pad and paper. You're using technology. I can see it here on the screen, right? By the way, there are people that have watched the podcast and we get them on here and they still can't figure out how to do I got to turn my video. I can't turn my video off and I turn off my sound. And, so you are with it, right? So you technology wise, you have stepped your game up, but where do you see NAIFA going to blend the future and the past?
That's a great question, Chris. And it's interesting because you mentioned COVID, of course, and how that forced so many of us to change and transition to newer technology. It was at least 2 years before COVID that we started in our practice to do most of our client reviews and client service virtually over the phone or Zoom. And so I think many of us in our profession had been in this direction already. NAIFA itself has been doing this even before COVID came. So what that did is it accelerated it for the rest of us, as well as for those who are already starting. I think there's great promise and value in what we're doing as a profession and as NAIFA to do our meetings, to present to our members and our future members hybrid programs, both in person live as well as through podcasts and webinars, which they can see on demand. It's just the possibilities are limitless, what we can do doing this way. And in the past, we used to have something called, what was it called? It was like CE in a can or CE in a bag. You'd get this program from NAIFA and it would be an outline and it was very specific and you had to do it a certain way. And it was good, but it wasn't that fresh. And now what we can do is we can change things on a dime. We can update things instantly, electronically, virtually. And I think it's just wonderful what we can do now. And so I think that NAIFA specifically is in the only opportunity, I think, for the industry to really embrace that and really benefit from that through all the products and services and programs that we're doing, such as the Centers of Excellence.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I'd say, Bryon, and Chris, you can chime in on this one too, if you would, because both of you have really embraced social media to speak directly to clients and to potential clients. And so I think, Bryon, I think if you can talk a little bit of how you use social media in your practice, a lot of advisors are still really hesitant. They don't know how to navigate the world of maybe compliance and things like that. How have you been able to be so successful? And what are you using social media for? And then Chris, I'd love you to chime in too.
That's a great question. First of all, I'm very fortunate that our firm, the Advisor Group, has a great social media dashboard and a way for us to do things that get approved and a very easy process for that. So it's valuable if you have a firm that does that. And I don't mean to say anything about one over the other, but many of the larger firms do that these days. So what we do is we're certain to do a whole month in advance of our planning for social media. We brand ourselves. Anyone who follows me knows what our brand is. It's rock, it's music. If you have a passion for sports, take that and run with it. If you have a passion for golf or whatever it is, or cooking, use that as a brand and use it on social media. We post regularly, and we post about our brand, be it music. We post about things that are currently regarding tax law changes and retirement plans, for example. And we try and post things that are very ongoing and of value to our clients regularly. Much of it's from Life Happens, one of NAIFA's best partners, whether it's I Love Insurance or it's disability awareness. They have different campaigns throughout the year, but we're dripping that to our clients and prospects regularly on social media through Facebook, through Twitter, through LinkedIn, and even some of the others. We sometimes use Instagram and Pinterest. So our clients and our potential clients see this, that we're in the forefront of their minds. They're thinking about it regularly. We get referrals regularly. People say, hey, don't you do insurance? So we use this as an opportunity to be at parties all around the country, in essence, socializing with people that we know, kind of know, and it just works really well. So it's important as advisors, certainly NAIFA as well, to have a foot in the past and recognize that it's important to do the old things, sometimes some direct mail, sometimes, do some real advertising, but also recognize the value of the social media. And that's worked really well for us. How about you, Chris? What are you doing with social media?
I would simply say that, I work with an actual marketing group. And one of the things that they specifically said is that, people want the content, right? And they want the content to be authentic. And so part of that is we use social media to talk about being different in a way that is in alignment with the common themes that are in the marketplace today. So if you see a lot of our stuff, typically it's embracing the things that are happening around us. Like right now, we have pieces running on recession. Right now, we have pieces talking about the impact of war on investments. We have one right now running on how to actually read an investment statement, because most people don't even read the statements. They don't even government. So we have things that are relative, meaningful, inspiring, and powerful. So that's kind of our acronym in our offices is we kind of fold those things in. And if I look at it and say, nah, that doesn't move me. Everything we do from a social media perspective needs to inspire and uplift people. And that is part of what that's part of the message, is how we use it. So we use it for experience, opportunity, enhancement, enlightenment. So we use it in a positive way. Social media can be used both positively and negatively. We choose to use it on the positive side, and we choose to do it in a way that tells a story, right? To give color to the TV, to give color to you say you got to sit down with someone and talk about financial services and your life dreams, and people are like, oh my God, I'm going to do that again. Okay? And again, they go numb with the idea of doing it. And I'll ask people after our conversations have you ever experienced anything like that after the conversation? And if the conversation is, well, yeah, I did that last week, then I did something wrong. The engagement of that process and the ease of doing business. I think if you take what they call the Starbucks effect, and you take that book that they help, navigate from a marketing perspective, one of the things they said is Starbucks' goal isn't to have the best coffee. Starbucks' goal is to be a place where people feel comfortable and they can feel at home. Enough so that they can work from there and they can do other things from there. So if you think about that experience, everything that we put out there and everything we do is to enhance the experience of others. So that's how I use it. Everybody's different, but I think as we move forward, I think that's going, it's inevitable that we try and use it in that way. And kudos to you, Bryon. Suzanne is one of the best. She does a fantastic job on my back. I hope one day that we are 1/100th of a marketing machine that she is. But she's one of the best ones in the game.
Pretty marketable. But I was going to say, I mean, I think that I think all advisors listening to this can really look at both of the work you're doing and model and get a lot of take-home messages. And the big thing that I think people get caught up on is they're ready to sell, and social media takes a little bit more time. It's building a relationship, but it's building that authenticity. So by the time somebody picks up the phone, they do feel like they know you. And I think that's important. They know, like, okay, if we're going to go talk to Chris or we're going to talk to Bryon, they already have that rapport built, which should actually fast track you, right, in the relationship once you actually do get down to sit down with them, and whether that's Zoom or in person. And that's why you do it. That's why it's worth the investment, right? It's an investment.
Absolutely.
But it's the getting to know you. And I applaud both of you for having the vulnerability, having the security and the courage to put out the vulnerability about who you really are, right? What your firm does and how that works, because that's going to attract those people, right? Like what you put out there. And it lets people really feel like they know you. And I think that's a big piece. I mean, so Bryon, I think I'd go back to you and say, one of the greatest pieces of you, in my personal opinion, of marketing you as our president and getting to know you, is that you are you're very emotionally available, and you're emotionally available to your friends, your colleagues, but your clients. So can you give us a couple things for 2023, what you plan to do to kind of keep that rapport going with your clients? Because you've got a lot of great things that you do all the time.
Sure. Well, I was very fortunate to recently be featured in an article in Insurance News Network. If you haven't seen it, it's on the interweb, and it contains some of the ideas that we use and some of the ways we do keep in touch with our clients and market ourselves. One thing that we do is we have an ice cream social once a year for our clients to celebrate our firm's birthday. And that's a fun time in the summertime. Who doesn't like ice cream? And we splash that all over social media and invite multi-generations, the whole family. If you're just starting the business, or if you've been in the business 20, 30, 40 years, remember, we're not just helping our clients, we're helping their children and grandchildren, our future clients. We send birthday cards to everyone in the household for our clients, and include a stick of gum with that birthday card. And the reason we do that is because 10, 20, 30 years later, the kids remember that when they're getting married, when they're getting their first job, when they're having their children. The other thing we do, which is also multi-generational, is we have an annual movie event for our clients, a multi-generational family movie event, early December. It's the latest holiday blockbuster. And that's a wonderful chance to celebrate with our clients and to really just have some fun and help them to recognize that we're there just to celebrate what's important to them, which is family and community. So those are just a few of the things that we do throughout the year to keep in touch with our clients, to serve them, and to make sure that they know we're here for them.
Awesome. Yeah, I think Bryon, one of the things that I think everybody talks about is people buy differences, not similarities. And I think our ability to be different, one of the comments, I'll go back. One of the things that I think that I talked about, the future of NAIFA, the only organization in the industry and the longest standing association, which is NAIFA, the partnerships that you guys do from a corporate perspective that allows for us to go out to build relationships like the Fairway Mortgages, and those relations, those partnerships allow for us to be able to collaborate and work collectively with other professionals to do so. So when I mentioned that, I just wanted to kind of bring that back. But I think our ability to work with others who already have clients in a common conversation about asset protection and growth. And that's just one. I mentioned Fairway, but there's numerous ones that even in our board meeting, they came up and we're like, oh, we have a relationship with them. And so I think our ability to be able to not only bring and attract new talent, but be able to meld that through these partnerships and relationships, I really think is something fairly unique that I think NAIFA truly has and it is on the forefront of.
Absolutely. In fact, Chris, if you haven't looked at the website in a while, there are so many partners and values and benefits that we have available to our members. I was visiting with a fairly long-time member recently about seminar marketing and whether I did any. And of course, we have done some over the years. And we have partners there that can offer NAIFA members discounts to get going with that. So if you need something and you're not sure about what to do, take a look at the NAIFA website and see what we have in that area and share with your colleagues. It's incredible the number of partnerships we have and how that can help you as a newbie, as a new member, or as a longtime member.
Awesome. Suzanne, before we run into the lightning round with President Holz, anything specific you want to ask before we run it? We shoot to that round and get in and have a little fun at his expense. It's okay.
Well, I would note that I do think it's interesting, Bryon, and will be interesting for a lot of people out there, especially people that are coming into the business, maybe, and they decide from the get-go that they want to be independent. I think it's interesting you have been independent, right, from the get-go for 40 plus years. You're really an early adopter in many, many ways. So will that be part of your presidency to kind of keep a special eye on that independent sector and things, whether it's how we can serve them better or do more with them or something like that, since it's near and dear to your heart?
Suzanne, it certainly is. But I think hand in hand with that, I've never really thought of myself as totally independent. I like to think of myself more as interdependent, whether it was with my friends and colleagues, initially with my firm, or currently with all my fellow NAIFA members. We're interdependent upon each other for so many things, not just the advocacy that, of course, NAIFA has our biggest flag, but just learning from each other. So yes, we're going to focus on the independence to make sure that those who may not be aware of NAIFA are more familiar with what we do, share that message, help others experience their first time at Day on the Hill or at a NAIFA meeting. So absolutely.
And Bryon, if I wanted to find more out about what's happening in NAIFA this year, what could I do?
I believe there's going to be a State of NAIFA webinar tomorrow at noon, live, and it will also be recorded so everyone can watch and listen in the coming weeks or months. And we do this quarterly, I believe. So we'd love to have you join us. There's a lot going on, more than we can share in a quick podcast. So join us tomorrow, or if you can't join us tomorrow, watch it on the recast.
That's awesome. And you are rocking it already, because I know this morning I looked, I think we have over 750 people registered. So people are really interested, just looking at the numbers over the years, they just keep growing and growing about what's this NAIFA? What are they all about? And what are they doing? And, where are the cool kids? Where do we find the cool kids? And this is
I might have to put on a tie like Chris.
Wow. Hey, listen, I figured Holtz was coming. I figured I needed to at least wear a bow tie or at least a hat. You're known for dressing appropriately. So let me ask one last question before we get into the lightning round. Your legacy, when you look back, what would you like to say the legacy that you leave on the NAIFA mark? What would you like to look back and say that 10 years from now, we look back and we say, Bryon's legacy he left on NAIFA, what would you say that you would hope it would be?
At the beginning of our year here, it's a great time to ponder that. I think at the end of the year, I might give you a different answer.
Sure.
But right now, I believe that the greatest legacy I could hope for, and I know that word is sometimes used a lot, and I know that's an important word for you personally and in your practice, but I hope my legacy is to strengthen what we do as a profession, that NAIFA truly strengthens not only its members, but what we do entirely as professionals, that we can continue to increase the number of professionals we have, the advisors and agents, because I think we're at a pivotal point. Our nation, our world is in need of healing. And I believe that our profession, the insurance and financial advisor, has a very special place to provide some healing for society, for our fellow citizens. So it's my hope that this can be a lightning rod, and what we can do is strengthen that in the future, that NAIFA makes a difference, just as we do on the micro level with our clients, but on the macro level for all of society. That would be
Awesome.
The greatest legacy.
Awesome. So with that, you mentioned lightning.
Yep. It's time.
Suzanne, do you have any signs like?
We need to incorporate a new sound.
Yeah, we need some graphics,
right.
some lightning graphics. So Mr. Holtz, it is an honor to serve with you, and look forward to partnering with you on initiatives as we move forward through 2023 and beyond. Now you come into kind of my world, and I get a chance to put people kind of on the hot seat a little bit. And I get a chance to ask them what I call lightning questions. The lightning questions, the goal of these lightning questions is just for you to be able to, top of mind, whatever comes up, that's the answer. I know that you're well thought out, and but this is set to kind of take you off balance a little bit. So I was told by a little birdie that you're efficient in music. Is that correct?
I have a passion for music.
Okay,
that is correct.
So lightning round, we'll get going. Pretty much I'll ask you a question, you answer, and we'll move on to the next question, right?
All right.
If you don't answer, I'll just move on to the next question anyway. You ready?
You bet.
So we'll start out easy. Favorite food?
Favorite food? Steak.
Got it.
Filet.
All right. Moving to something you may know about. Which pop group has a one-arm drummer?
Def Leppard.
Def Leppard. You are correct. All right. Next question. Which city is the band Oasis from?
London. Liverpool.
Manchester.
Man.
One more.
All right.
What is the nickname?
I think you get half credit. I think you get half credit for that.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
What is the nickname of Billy Joel?
Piano Man.
The Piano Man. Yes.
And he's not even a fan. I happen to know that. That's not one of his guys. Billy Joel is not one of his guys.
Last question.
He's great.
For the record.
Yes.
Which movie has the best theme song?
Ooh.
My vote is Top Gun. It just is. This is how it works. You can't go wrong with that song.
Well, okay. Mine would be, "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
No.
A Man of Constant Sorrow."
That's a good one. Go into
Got it. All right. So, President Holtz, it's an honor to serve with you. Any final words before we go back to Suzanne and I close it up for final words?
Chris, I just appreciate being here with a chance to share with our NAIFA members and future members throughout the nation. I hope you picked up a couple things. And again, if there's anything we can do for you at NAIFA, feel free to email me, contact me. We are going to do this together. 2023 is going to rock. And thanks for your continued leadership and support, Chris.
Awesome. Suzanne, our wonderful co-host, the super host, the marketeer of all marketeers. Any final words?
What I would say is that if you are out there, and actually I have the new numbers and I haven't even shared with you. Chris, our podcast numbers, our downloads are unbelievable. And we'll put that out, but just letting everybody know. So thanks everybody who's out there listening. Please subscribe to us. But what I would say, if you're out there and you're not a member, or if you want to refer a member, we've got great benefits this year for referring people. If you're not a member, join, because from now and through February, and just as a little FYI, February is I Love NAIFA month. So we're going to do all sorts of fun stuff with that. But from now through the end of February, if you join as a new member, or if you refer someone and they join, you can get yourself a free copy of Jamie Hopkins and Ron Carson's new book. And it's out there, and we're going to give that out. Jamie's been a great past board member from last year, and we'll continue on to our industry resource leader board. And so we're happy with that. And congrats to Jamie on his new book. But that's a little sweetener out there as we celebrate success together. So Chris, that's what I've got.
All right. So with that being said, thank all of you for listening to Advisors Today podcast, where we get a chance to bring wonderful leaders like our president, Bryon Holtz, the wonderful Suzanne Carawan, the marketeer of marketeers. And we want to thank you. We learned so much from Bryon today, the vision of where he sees NAIFA going and his impact, his legacy that he would like to touch and leave. But we learned today of how to rock. Thank you, Bryon Holtz. Thank you for listening to Advisor Today podcast, where we promote, uplift, and inspire the leaders of tomorrow. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us for NAIFA's Advisor Today podcast series. Make sure to subscribe to get future episodes. And if you're interested in coming on the show, let us know.